There we go. There we go. And this is why there's no such thing as the perfect streaming tool. Can everybody hear me? Am I too loud? I think I have a filter on that prevents me from being super loud. Cool. Success. Let's get some stream avatars in here. It's always more fun when you guys are like little meeples that I can torture on the screen. How is the volume of voice to music? I know Jace there, he said you could hear the music. Turaga Kratox. You could hear music, but did you just Thanos? That's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did, Danny. By the way, welcome. Good morning from the Midwest of the USA. It's a great day today. It's a bit rainy, a bit drizzly. In my part of the world, we are celebrating a harvest season stuff with one of the harvest type of festivals going on nearby. It's probably packing it up with it being all rainy and drizzly, but that's the kind of stuff that goes on in these parts of the woods. Welcome, Philip Denick. Welcome, Warbuilder. I know that's Jace. Welcome, Turaga Kratox. Welcome, Danny of our time. Welcome to the stream. I am currently trying to make sure the streaming avatars will work, but it looks like I'm going to be the only one down here. Looks like I can only torture myself. And there's Ribby. Yo! Oh, yeah, he pops right in. He pops right in. Fantastic. Fantastic. So that works. That works. Something's going to break every single time. This time, it was the beacon microphone input, audio input, but that's okay. I know why it broke, and honestly, it's on me. My regular cable for transferring video from my phone to my PC is starting to crap out. The file transfer will get to like 60%, and then it'll just hang, and I'll come back and check on it, and I'm like, why are you hanging? And I'll look, and it's like, device disconnected or malfunctioning, and I look over, and there's my phone securely attached, and I'm like, it's the cable. Cable sucks. So I got to take the cable off of my beacon mic, which means I need a new 3 meter long, yeah, it's got to be that long, cable to connect to my phone. Oh well, it's fine. Steady improvements. Continuous improvement, that's what we're about around here. I have a hair hanging off my sleeve, driving me nuts because I can't catch it in the moment. This is the curse of having long hair. Welcome, PDXY666. How you doing? It's been a minute since I've streamed, so I hope everybody's doing okay. What's new? What's going on? I have plans today. We're going to show off the HeroQuest Difficulty Calculator that I built. And I'm really happy that that project is finally done. And I don't know if it's going to be of any use to anybody else, but I couldn't stop working on it until it was done. So it's done now. It's a burden lifted off of my shoulders. Hey, Mr. Venture. Good afternoon, lovely Pete's from Germany. Hello, Germany. Hello, today's representation of Germany. How are you? Hope you're doing fantastic. Hey, it's the fair weather, man. Good morning. We're having weather that's relatively fair here, so you're in good company. I'm curious, and I don't know if this is the time or the place, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I am curious about the origins of your name, Fairweather Man. And if it's something that you would deign to summarize for me, that would be appreciated. But if not, then that's fine too. I've always been, for a while, I was like, does it have to do with like the weather mage from... Fine, done my deeds for this week. I hope everybody else is as fine as can be. I'm as fine as can be. I really am. I just unboxed my Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion box that I rescued from Miniature Market for $15. It was damaged. But it yeah, it took a long time. It was a lot more in that box. It's a nod to the Winter Special Quest. Awesome. Absolutely fantastic. So, I think I found the hair that was bugging me. I did not. It's still there. It's bad, guys. I think it's attached. All right, we're not going to worry about that. It's just going to drive me nuts in silence. I'm going to switch over to a different view. I actually have usually when I stream, I have my second monitor very close by. It's way over there because I'll show you. I don't know if anybody cares. I'm going to show you anyway. Yeah, the shelves there are not looking too hot. I'm going to need to do something about that separation in shelf very quickly. It's the one on the right. I need to get that one re-straightened. You can actually see right there the wood of the mainstays shelf on the right is leaning that way. So I actually need to take something and push it back this way and get it to stay. Not good. Don't like that at all. I need to just custom build some more solid wood shelves like what I've got holding my other games. But there's my second monitor down there. Second monitor down there. Little Arzopa, just a tiny display. I love using it for streaming, but it's over there so that I can build HeroQuest jam quests. I've got 3 left to do, with My Brother being the next one that I need to film. I just filmed Goblin Guild, and that one will be going up in 2 days. It would have been today, but we're streaming today. And the time's ticking. It's only been 8 minutes. It's actually been only 8 minutes. Anyways, thank you for stating my curiosity about that, Fairweather Man. My original Amalgam Ash name was just a way to encapsulate my own moniker with the fact I was going to be doing a lot of different channel topics and putting them all on one channel. If they were tangentially related at all, I was just going to make content about it and put it on the same channel. I have since split from that, and Ash Quest is all of the board game related content. It is all the quest related content. Obviously, including HeroQuest. We need to move this over here. We need to grab a link to the stream really quick so I can drop that in my Discord. Because not everybody is going to be checking YouTube or getting notifications from YouTube. I don't, so I don't blame anybody else for not. But if they are in the Discord and they see that little white dot show up, indicating there's an unread post, that might do it for some people. We are live. I could probably put that in the sampler chat. Actually, I will. We are live. All right, if you guys are ready, which I'm ready, grab this, bring it over here so I can actually see what I'm doing. Grab my camera. Just about there. Just about there. Grab my webcam and place it over the top of my stream window. So I can keep this on the screen and see what I'm doing at all times. It's time to quest and calculate. That is absolutely right. That's what it's time to do. I'm actually going to put this down here. Now, you can't see that stuff, but I can see it. I can see you. You can't see me. I'm going to die of starvation before this stream is over, though. I really need to get something to eat. But that's not going to happen right now. No, right now, we are going to share transition. Guys, see everything? See everything okay? Whoop. Actually, we'll just put that down here. I'll just maximize it over here. Yes! Don't forget to like, folks. I know coffee comes first. Thank you for that gentle reminder, Nightmaster. We're looking at my itch.io page, which is linked now in the description below. If you go down here, you can download the HeroQuest Difficulty Calculator for yourself. It is an XLSX file, which means it is openable in Excel. If you are familiar with Excel, that's an Excel workbook file type. However, I need to disclaim that while I built this in Excel, I have not tested it or tried to use it in other spreadsheet applications. So essentially, it is a spreadsheet tool. Now, having said that, when you think of spreadsheets, you think I have to put in all of this data, and then I have to make my own this and that and the other. And calculating really just means I'm doing the work. No, it's doing the work for you. It's as close as you can get to an app in Excel without actually having to push any buttons or do anything. And we're going to go over how to use it together if you want, or you can just watch me go over the steps and decide if it's right for you. I don't actually know if I want my face taking up that much room, so we might shrink me down a little more. Yeah, we'll do this. Okay, but you're looking at the excuse me, very plain landing page for this. This doesn't matter. But to give you the intro of what this is, I don't want my Steam friends showing up down below. Hold on a second. There we go. I got to cover that up because Steam is wanted to be so public. HeroQuest Difficulty Calculator. I've been working on the concept for this for a long time. Now it's finally here. My difficulty calculator for HeroQuest lets you put in any entity with any stats to get a calculated number indicating the overall suggested power level for that entity. All right. Now, it wouldn't be special if it only did that, because anybody can do that. You can come up with your own arbitrary system to get a power level for an enemy. And you can use this same system to do this for all the enemies in the game. But what it really does is it gets precise power levels from groups of entities. Now, to explain this shorthand, if I put, I've used this example 80 times, so I apologize for anybody who's heard this example before, but if you have a goblin and you decide that goblin has a power level of 4, which this calculator actually does put the goblin at a 4, and you enter the room as a single hero, and there's the goblin, this calculator is going to assume that the goblin attacks you first, gets the maximum amount of damage, you attack the goblin, and then I have a formula, which I don't mind explaining or showing. Indeed, the formula is easy to see if you download the workbook and take the sheet protection off. There's no password. There shouldn't be. But attack the goblin. We're going to go through a little bit of a calculation depending on how many black shields, how many defense dice the monster rolls, whether or not it's a black shield or white shield. I've got different calculations for both of those. And how many body points the monster has. And then the monster is going to presumably attack you and get a perfect hit in again until the monster is dead. But the goblin ends up with a 4. Okay, that's how this calculator comes to the conclusion of the goblin. So, 4. If you enter a room and there are 3 goblins, you say, well, that's easy. We calculate the power level. It is 4 and 4 and 4, so that's 12. This room has a power level of 12. There is a gnat or a piece of fuzz. And that's all good and fine. You're going to have a difficulty curve that's consistent with that calculation method if you're using that over and over and over and over and over again. Okay? Mastling random numbers. Ribby just going ham on the streaming avatar commands. And your difficulty curves, when you look at them and you try to figure out the overall difficulty of a quest full of rooms of enemies or of a campaign full of quests full of rooms of enemies, are going to look however they look. This calculator says that's wrong. They won't look like that. Your methods are fine, just adding stuff together, but we're really disregarding a lot of stats by doing things that way. And I can get into what I mean by that. But what really happens when you enter a room with a single hero and there are 3 goblins is that you may be able to take one of them out. First, we're going to assume that all 3 attack you. Then we will assume, based on how many black shields and body points each monster has, whether or not you kill it in that next turn. And it's random. I know RNG is going to apply to all of this. I get that. But we're applying a formula that's consistent across all of the enemies so that the odds stay the same. They stay the same no matter what monster you're fighting. So the monster is not going to affect the odds. But anyways, if you do kill one monster, it's now Zargon's turn and there are 2 monsters left in the room. Which means if they both get perfect attacks on you, that's another 4 and another 4. So it's not going to be 12 now. It's not 12, it's 20. Now, if you take a turn with your single hero and you take 1 goblin out, there's 1 goblin left, and if he gets the maximum amount on you, the difficulty of this room is 24 before you finally kill the goblins. The idea is that it's not additive. It's not exactly multiplicative either. But it can be. It just depends on what method you want to use. I don't want to use a method that's additive or strictly multiplicative because I feel like those are inaccurate. So this uses a different formula. So we are going to look now at what you get when you download this. And again, link is in the description below. This is totally free. I just want to offer it as a resource. You can use it for whatever purposes you want. But here it is. I'm going to have to turn the chat off so you can see everything though. Hold on. All right. So here's the spreadsheet. It's spreadsheets. You thought you could escape work. You thought you were done tracking KPIs and logging in service calls. No. This is a grim reminder that the reality of the burdens that you have will follow you into the deepest and highest of fantasy worlds. So, before we get much further, I want to say that there's a certain type of person this is for. A lot of people say, no, Ash, you don't get it. Keep HeroQuest simple. That's what's made the game so simple, and it's so simple. Simple is simple. HeroQuest, I know, I get that. I agree with you. But if you have to tell me that, you're missing the point of what this is for. This is for the people who are developing a quest and they want to fine-tune it and they want to place it precisely within other campaigns. This is for people who reach, by virtue of placing their own homebrew monsters or heroes into it, a determination of how strong those monsters or heroes are and whether or not they would be more suited to be in an early quest or a later quest in their own campaign. This is for people who want to overanalyze and over-engineer. This is for people like me. So, this is what I have come up with in order to do that. So I have this pre-filled for your convenience. Most every single entity in HeroQuest is in this except for the specially named monsters and bosses. All of your default stuff is in here. And I could certainly go through here and add in the bosses and stuff, but I really wanted to get this out. So as soon as I got to this point, it was really hard not to release it without it anything being pre-filled. But I went ahead and I pre-filled a ton of stuff. So let's zoom in really far. Where's the zoomies? Where can I zoom? Zoom, zoom, zoom. Guys, why are I locked? Why lock me? The stupid. Okay, can I control? Oh, I can do that, yeah. Oh, now the zoom unlocks. Why? Why? That's so weird. You seeing this okay? We need to zoom in more. Let's zoom in more. All right, so this is Excel 360 or Microsoft 365. I'm using Excel Online to be able to show you this. I know people aren't necessarily all going to love Excel. Most spreadsheet programs should work the same way, and I don't know if I have a formula in here that's using an Excel exclusive command. I don't actually know what those would be. So I'll need to find out, because I would like for this to be compatible with most spreadsheet programs, if not all. And if I can update it to where the syntax works out, and you can open this in Google Sheets, unless you already can, which let me know if you can, or in OpenOffice Calc, which is one of my favorites because it's free. It's no nonsense. It's just Libre software. And this doesn't work in that right now because of the syntax of the most important formula in this whole thing. But if I can get that going, I will update this and everybody will be able to use it in whatever spreadsheet they want, because I know not everybody loves Microsoft, and I certainly don't, but it is what it is. So we are looking at 14, 15, 16, 17 sheets in this workbook. 14 of them are for quests. We'll go over those momentarily. We also have an information sheet, which is going to give you everything you could possibly want to know about this, the instructions, the introduction, why I figured movement and ranged logic the way I did, credits, license, other info that's behind my head, methodology, abilities, and mind points, and there's a frequently asked questions section, which nobody ever asked any questions about this at all. I just kind of figured while I was developing it that these might be the questions people ask the most. Maybe nobody will ever ask a question about it, and that's fine. But we'll go over the FAQ here shortly. First, though, the very first sheet in all of this is the database. 1 second. Okay. This is the database, and this is the part that I pre-filled. I want you to see that there is a series of columns from A through H, all of these here, okay? And I have pre-filled the name of the monster, the attack dice, the defense dice, and the body points of the monster. We have columns also named S1, S2, S3. Don't worry about those just yet. The goblin, in the example that I gave, does have a power of 4. You can't change these directly. You'll get a warning about the sheet being protected, but that's where the formula lies. However, I don't want to keep the formula a secret. I want people to be able to look at this and improve upon it if they want. So if you think that it would be more accurate to change this formula or otherwise change this entire thing, you can do that by unprotecting the sheet. The reason I have the sheet protected is so you don't accidentally overwrite anything in here, because if you, the end user, overwrite an important formula and you don't know it and the results aren't immediately obvious, then later on down the line, you might have a quest in the quest 1 sheet and the quest 2 sheet, and they're supposed to be the same quest. You got the same monsters and the same everything, but one of them has different numbers than the other. It's probably because you overwrote a formula or a value that was supposed to be automatically calculated. I want to prevent that headache for you. So I protected the sheets, but really they just prevent you from typing in these sum fields. Hello, Civ 7697. Saluti. How are you today? Welcome in. So I color-coded these just for ease of visual identification. We have the 8 base monsters from the base game, excluding, of course, the Chaos Sorcerer or Dread Sorcerer. We have the Frozen Horror monsters. We have the Mage of the Mirror monsters. We've got a bunch of, against the Ogre Horde, Contemporary Edition monsters. We've got the Rise of the Dread Moons here. We've got the Jungles of Delthrak here. I put Venom in here. I put the Dragon from First Light. I fought myself. I'm like, I really want to put Quindrak, but I decided against that since the card says Dragon. And then I put the 4 Wizards of Morcar UK editions in here. I forgot to put UK next to Groshak's name, but don't worry about that. Finally, I just put in a made-up Zargon. Why Abomination only 1 HP? I knew I would miss something. Oh, good. I'm glad you pointed that out. Every single person who downloads this is going to point that out now. Okay, so the Abomination HP is wrong. Don't worry about that. We'll ignore that for now. We'll ignore that. But dude, point out anything that you see that looks amiss. I'm gonna fix it and put it in the next update. So I'll just open up a notepad file. Hold on a second. Add Quest Jam stuff on there. It's a blessing and a curse that notepad opens up now with the exact same. Okay, Abomination, update. I don't want to update this one because this is the online Excel. This isn't the one that I actually have. Although I probably have to use this to update it so that I can download the file so I can re-upload it to itch. I'll figure that out on the back end. Zargon stats, 12, 12, 12, 12. 1884 is what that comes up to. Okay, so just so you know, there are 100 rows. I know it says 102, but 2 of those rows are taken up by header information. So there's 100 rows in this stack of columns. So that's support for 100 monsters. Oh, but wait, I have 2. No, I have 3 of these sets of columns. So if you want, there's support for 300 monsters. Okay. Next, I want to talk about the hero database. Enter all of your monsters, whether it's from the game system official or expansions or your own homebrew monsters, whatever the case may be. Enter in their attack dice, their defense dice, and their body points, and you'll get your calculation. I'll explain the S columns shortly, okay? And yes, I'm aware that there's no movement, and there's a reason for that, and we will continue on to the hero database. The hero database, the monster database, there's no difference other than the calculations for the heroes do take into consideration that the heroes defend on white dice, so the calculation is different. If you were to create a monster called a barbarian that only defended on a black die, and you put its information in over here in one of these black die sections, his power is only going to be 72, but because the barbarian can defend on white dice, there's 2 white dice per die, 1 black shield, the barbarian's hero power is 120. If you ever want to do this, don't, because the tool here is only going to accept the very first name in a series of names that are the exact same. So instead of putting barbarian in both, I would put barbarian monster as one if you were going to do that. But we don't have to have a barbarian monster, so we can take these out. So far, we have our how to use the database section. Now, I want to talk about skirmish tables. Skirmish tables are the heart of this whole thing after the database. Skirmish tables have these crazy formulas, and I actually don't think that I don't think I protected this row of cells, this column of cells, I think. No, it's protected. Okay, you can kind of see the formula. Yeah, you can see the whole formula. You don't have to unprotect the cell to see the formula. So you can actually see the formula. Whoops, we got stuff. King Cloud 777, welcome in. I always wanted to play this game, but never had anyone that wanted to try it with me. There's some really good single player mods. There's some really good single player methods for this game. So you could actually play it single player. The best one's probably Gravillon, I would say, they're free. They don't require anything to be purchased. I have a threat level formula for my world that I use from time to time. Attack 2, defense equals 3 equals T. T times BP equals threat. Special effects and attacks gain +2 per card or effect. Available. My monsters also defend on white. Okay, so other tools are definitely out there. And like I said, if you take this and you decide to refine it further, you can add things like that in here. It's pretty open, and it's actually pretty powerful, if I do say so myself. So this is a skirmish table, and we're going to zoom way in on this skirmish table so you can see very clearly what I'm about to do. It says hero unit quick calculation. You can put whatever you want here. You can put goblins, you can put heroes. It's going to treat them appropriately because it's pulling from their power levels in the database. It's not considering anything else about them because nothing else about them is important after we have calculated their total power level. So if you do, though, want to put in a little squad, a warband of heroes, and you want to know exactly what their total power level is going to be, well, let's see how to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is type in Barbarian under the input column. And since I clicked out, it went ahead and updated. It took Barbarian from the database because we have a monster or a hero, an entity named Barbarian. If I just typed in some random gobbledygook, it's not going to count it because there's nothing in the database that has that name. So that would let you know right away that you don't have that entity in your database. Otherwise, it would pull it. So Barbarian's in the database, though. Now, you won't put anything in the auto sort column. This is automatically being sorted. And you won't put anything in the power column, and you won't put anything in the total column. Your only job is to put entities' names in the input column. That's it. That's all you do. Your job is done after that. But we'll go ahead and put in dwarf. And look at this. If you want to do like all caps, it doesn't care. It doesn't care. It's going to pull from the correct entry. It's not case sensitive. It doesn't care if you scream elf into the void, and it doesn't care if you alternate caps on wizard, which really looks mocking to the wizard. Sorry, wizard. It's going to take these different powers from the correct entries. It doesn't care. So that's good. But we have a power of 120, of 70, of 60, and 20. If this auto sorts to show you who the most powerful one is, and it just so happens that I typed them in order of power descending. That was a mistake. I didn't mean to do that because it looks like it just copied and pasted the same things. Look what happens when I do it out of order. There, it auto sorts them so they're in the right order. We have the Barbarian at 120, the Dwarf at 70, the Elf at 60, and the Wizard at 20. So what does this do? All right, the total unit power is 830. That is the total unit power of a classic HeroQuest warband. It's not a term used in HeroQuest. It's a classic party of heroes, is 830. If you want to use this number and compare it to difficulty ratings across quests, you can get a great idea of how strong a party needs to be in order to tackle a given quest. That's it. If you have done that even once, this has done its job. Congratulations. I have things in place for us to do that, and we will do it shortly. But I wanted to show you, you could definitely add like a fifth person to this, like the Bard, and you can see the power level changes drastically. This is assuming all of the heroes stay together. This is assuming they are a complete unit whenever they go into a room and fight a bunch of monsters, and that they're like that the entire quest. It's really giving you the best case scenario. So, obviously, the RNG of the combat dice and the random traps that you forgot to check for and the traps that you couldn't check for and the Yeti's ability to hug and things like that are going to detract from this, and they're going to skew your results a little bit. But best case scenario, 1180 is our 5 unit party there. And by the way, you might want to know, what is barbarian? A party of all barbarians. That would be illegal in HeroQuest terms, but it's a solid 1200. It's a solid 1200. And you might have noticed at this point, it's taking the power and showing it to you, so you get that information right away. But it also shows you the total with each successive barbarian added to the party. So our second barbarian in a party of 2, we would be at 360. At a party of 3, we'd be at 720. Party of 4 brings us up to 1200, because a room of 4 barbarians is way, way, way more dangerous than a configuration of less than 4 barbarians across 2 or more rooms. So this is the total danger amount, and therefore that is how we use a skirmish table. So that number doesn't mean much right here on its own. This is just to quickly calculate while you have the database in front of you. And I've given you several of these so that you can look at different sorties, so that you can look at different parties and compare them and say, well, all right, what if I were to make a barbarian and a knight and a bard and a druid? Then what? Well, I got 904. Well, what if I did a warlock and a wolf? And what if my warlock had 3 wolves? Yeah, okay, that wouldn't be as strong as the first party, but that sounds really fun. What about, so you have these calculations in front of you. It's for convenience only. That's why there are several of these tables. So let's clear them out. Oh, look, we have a disclaimer down here. These blocks are for quick testing and don't contribute to quest difficulty, which is why this number didn't change. What is this number, you might ask? This is the total quest book difficulty. This is the sum of quests 1 through 14. And now, let's see what I mean by quests 1 through 14. This is quest 1. This is an assortment of skirmish tables for your convenience. There are many of them, but they don't all have to have data in them. In fact, they're all going to start out with no data. My head is covering one of the important ones, so 1 second here. Actually, no, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave that because I'm going to show you how to deal with that if you ever have to deal with it. All right, I'm over here now. And it's going to look like I'm looking away from the spreadsheet, but I'm looking right at it. So we're looking at just an assortment of skirmish tables. I don't care which one of these you use. If you go into a corridor as a party of heroes, however big your party is, doesn't matter, and you encounter a skeleton. It's not a skeleton. A skeleton. And there's no other monster in line of sight, we put that skeleton down. That's a skirmish. That's an individual skirmish. No other monsters are joining this fight. It's just a skeleton. You see 2 things happen when you do that. 1, your total quest difficulty updates. The skeleton, according to this tool, has a power level of 6, and your total quest difficulty just went up to 6. Okay? Your total quest book difficulty went up to 33, but it should be 6. So why is it 33? Well, because, let me take the skeleton out. This is because of a monster that I left somewhere in the campaign. So I'm going to go hunt that monster down real quick and take him out. But if you go through all of the quest sheets, of which there are 14, because 10's a pretty classic number, well-rounded. Most people are going to make campaigns of 10 quests. 14's really pushing it, but I figure I'll put 14 because some folks like to do extra. They like to put extra big stuff in there. Or you might have one that is more like branching path. The amount of quests, though, isn't really going to matter. The difficulty of the campaign is additive because you're not doing 2 quests at the same time. You're doing them in succession. So the difficulty is additive in that sense. So if you need more than 14 quests, if you're doing like a 30 quest campaign, fine. Fill in the information for 14 of those. Download the workbook again or save it as a different file, whatever. Do the other 14 in that one. And then download it again, do 2 more quests, and just add those numbers together for your total quest book difficulty if you want to do that. But that's a pretty arbitrary number. I found it. I found the sheet that has our monster because the quest difficulty says 27. So where's that monster? Right there. This skirmish table right here. It's got 2 orcs. Let's just back those orcs out. They don't need to be there. That drops that down to 0. And now our original quest we were working on is accurate. It says 0. And if we put a skeleton in, we have a quest difficulty of 6, as it should be, and a total quest book difficulty of 6. So we have defeated the skeleton. Our heroes are going to move into the first room with a door. And when they open the door, there are 3 orcs in this room. So what do? Let's pick a skirmish table that can fit 3. I could pick almost any of these, but I have several skirmish tables that only fit 2, and that's just to keep things clean and to give you a lot of different options. Sadly, I have to go to work for now, so I'll catch up this in about 10 hours. Have fun. Keep them heroes struggling. Philip, I hope you have a fantastic day at work, rolling all skulls, and just pick up right where you left off. Good sir, thank you for dropping in today, especially before work. That takes dedication. Before work is coffee time. It's unwind time. It's not time to stare at spreadsheets before you go to work for 10 hours. Woof. However, onward we must go. So we have these different skirmish tables where I could fit 3 monsters. And I don't really like calling them skirmish 8, skirmish 9, skirmish 13. So I'm going to call this one Orc Room. Once my keyboard decides to work, there we go, Orc Room. Look at that. You can change the skirmish names if you want. We're going to say Orc Room. It's got 3 orcs. Whoa. And I typed in Orc Room again, which is going to return nothing. But that's because it's trying to autofill from what I put up top there. Orc, orc, orc. There we go. We have our total unit power at 54. That's what 3 orcs bring. Our total quest difficulty is now 60. All right, so at this point, if the heroes go left, my quest will have 9 dragons in every room. As Ike, welcome in, Ike. As it should, as it should. So let's, this quest calculator actually doesn't have 9 times the amount of rooms, or all of the rooms that you can get times 9 spaces. So that'll be difficult, but it's just additive. So if you ever have an issue like that, you'll go ahead and you'll use this ridiculous skirmish number 26. Okay. This is the one that I made big enough to hold a room, the center room, and just chock full of monsters on every square. The reason it's not as big as the Against the Ogre Horde arena tile is because I somehow doubt you're going to have an actual legitimate quest where you have that tile and you have it full of monsters. It could happen, and maybe you're curious, and so you can still, you could almost get the number. I have seen, like, what is it? The Forgotten Legion, the quest from Return of the Witch Lord. There's almost a monster in every single square in the center room. You have a very narrow path through the center. This allows you to calculate the difficulty of that room once the monsters awaken. But anyway, let's go ahead and put 9 dragons in. Your text has been auto-fitted. Yeah, keep that on. I want that to be on. Thank you. We're just going to go ahead and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Whoops. 9. Okay. We now have a total quest difficulty of 9,600 because 9 dragons returns a skirmish difficulty of 9,540. All right, so I want to give you some quest calculation advice, whether you use this tool or you use any other tool. And it's something that I had a bit of a beef with when I've seen different tools. And I don't want to, I'm not I don't want to disrespect anybody else's hard work in trying to calculate the amount of difficulty a given quest has. But the reality of the difficulty of a quest is whether or not everything is mandatory to do in that quest. So you will generally have 2 calculations per quest that you need to make. You need to make a calculation that takes into account whether or not the heroes enter every single room and fight every single enemy. And you need to have a calculation that determines that they only fight those enemies that are mandatory to complete the quest. So with the trial, for example, this number would be very, very high. It would be very, very high if you count every monster in every room. It's not going to be nearly as high if you disregard everybody except for the center room, because the quest ends when you clear out Verag and presumably the other monsters in the center room. So if you just make a beeline for that room, and I think depending on which version of the quest you play, there will either be one monster in the corridor on your way, depending on which way you go. That's a much lower difficulty. Now, if you make a quest where you are being railroaded through a series of rooms and every single battle is mandatory, then both of these numbers will be the same. They'll be the same. It is what it is, and that's an easy calculation to make. But you have a one true path calculation, and you have a conquer the quest calculation, and they are 2 different calculations. And this sheet isn't going to give you enough room necessarily to do both of those calculations, but I'm just telling you, creator to creator, that if you want to get an accurate difficulty level, put in the numbers that your heroes will have to do. And that's your worst case scenario if they take the one true correct path. And then do a second calculation and say this is what it is if they decide to go into every single room, and then you'll have your worst case scenario every single room. Why did I say worst case scenario? Because this is calculating the worst case. Just like I said, it's calculating the best case scenario when you calculate your heroes. It's calculating the worst case scenario for those heroes. It's calculating the best case scenario of the monsters. So let's do another one. If the heroes go to the center room, let's say they have to fight 2 goblins, goblin, 2 goblins, an orc, 2 orcs, a skeleton, and a gargoyle. And if they needed to fight any more than this, then I would just have used a different skirmish table. This one will fit everybody for my use this time, though. That's a total unit power of 471. Okay, so I get curious. And I'm like, what happens if they kill the gargoyle first? Well, that's easy. We'll take the gargoyle out. This room's power level drops to 111 without that gargoyle. That's how much of a difference the gargoyle makes in this specific room. So then you ask yourself, does that mean the gargoyle has got a difficulty level of the difference between 111 and the number that was just there? It does not. By itself, a gargoyle only has a power level of 60. The monsters are more threatening when they are together. And the worst case scenario is that they all get perfect attacks. And that's what this sheet accounts for. So you can put them in a different order in this other skirmish table, and they'll auto sort correctly. And again, you'll get the exact same power level. So my dwarf will make short work of them. Obviously a dragon slayer. Probably doesn't do well at parties. Probably able to really belt out the flirtatious tunes. But then the attractive lady at the party probably goes home with the football player, the weightlifter, the scientist, the dragon, Ninja Brian, and the Manticore. That's NSP's Dragon Slayer, for anybody who's uncultured. All right. What did I say? 2 goblins. So it's going to return the same value. But this is... Whoops. We woke it. I kind of wonder... I don't think it would be better to have a bunch of drop downs, because like if you really take this thing seriously and you fill up almost every one of those monster slots with monsters, you're looking at potentially 300 monsters per drop down menu. Really, this thing will be superseded by an app. An app will make all of this meaningless. An app that continuously lets you grow the amount of monsters in a room up to like, I don't know, 100, whatever you want, and then get power levels from that, and then let you save those off to the side. That runs off of a database that you can either access through the app or is stored in a file somewhere that you can access. That will supersede this. But we have now a total quest difficulty of 10,000, which is crazy. We have, I don't want both of these rooms. I don't want both. I got one more thing I really want to show you. Let's go to quest 2. On quest 2, right here, you still get the same cell. The total quest book difficulty is always there to show you what you're doing with your campaign. So if you are really trying to not exceed a total quest book difficulty of like 12,000, then you'll always be able to keep an eye on that, and you can edit on the fly. This was an idea that came to me a little bit later in the production of this, and once I put it in there, I'm like, that is so cool. That's so cool. Really patting myself on the back. Sorry. But I just think it's really cool to be able to see that. I'm all about that user experience, you know? So in this quest, there is an orc. There's going to be 3 rooms full of orcs. We just have 4 orcs in here, 4 orcs in there. We're asking the Zargon to have a lot of orcs. We're going to put an orc archer in here. And then we'll do one more room, and we're just going to have 2 Yetis. And check that out. Check it out, 2 Yetis. Now we have a total quest difficulty of 417, and that's going to be difficult enough, I think, for my band of heroes. So our total quest book difficulty has grown. It's now 10,128. Okay. We go to quest 3. And now I want to put in a homebrew monster. I want to go back to the database, and I want to put in my own Skaven. Do we need Skaven? I pat you on the back too, good sir. All the pats. Let's put a Skaven in. I love my rad boys. My Skaven's going to have 3 attack dice, 2 defense dice, just 1 body point. Power of 9. Pretty sure we already have a 3-2-1 in the orc. Okay, it's the same stats as the orc, but I want to make them a little bit different. So here's where the S columns come into play. The Skaven's going to have a single ranged attack. It's just going to fire something at you. It's going to have a sling or something. Maybe it'll be a plague bearer, a censer bearer. Maybe it'll be an Eshin assassin, and it'll throw a dagger at you. So it's going to... I'm going to move back over here again. It's going to roll 2 attack dice. And that's where that goes. We add on the ranged attacks. We add on any attack that we think the monster can make before it's in any real danger of being against a hero. So in the case of the orc archers, you might say, well, okay, orc archer, this is going to roll 3 attack dice. And when you're next to them, you're going to roll 1. Ash, why did you put 3 attack dice? when that's the archer's ranged attack. I'll tell you why. At first, I wasn't going to do this. And you can put your own entries in, and you can compare the entries. If you put an orc archer in that's going to be able to fire off 3 attack dice attack, and then the hero is going to be in proximity to the monster, and it's only going to be able to use melee, you can do that. However, I want to give you the most challenging version of that monster. So what I did was I made the arrows attack, the ranged attack, the most dangerous one, the one that's going to roll the main attack dice. And I used a 1 just to show that his melee attack, the orc archer's melee attack, is not irrelevant. It counts. It counts for something. So, after all, this would be a different calculation technically if it had a melee attack of 0. And this monster with a melee attack of 1 would be more threatening. So they do need to be different. But the reason that I put this as its main is because on Zargon's turn, Zargon could move the monster away and then attack, thereby attacking the hero with the maximum amount of dice every turn. Hey Ash, good to see you and talk to you first time. Hello! Matthew Ross, 3525. Welcome to the stream. It is good to see you. Nice to meet you. Have a seat. If you're already sitting, stand up and then have a seat again so that you can get immersed. And so that explains why I'm treating ranged attacks a certain way, melee attacks another way. I'm giving you the most difficult version of a monster. So if you can move a monster and then attack to get that higher number, as Zargon, you probably will. And so that's the order of numbers that I would use this for. You could do it differently if you want. You will get 2 different numbers if you type those stats in differently. But for my Skaven, for my homebrew Skaven, his ranged attack is only 2 attack dice. His melee is 3. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the S1. S means special, by the way. S means special. And because there are some monsters that have magic abilities, more than 1, that may inflict damage on the heroes, I have different columns for special abilities. So if this Skaven had a 2, and then, I don't know, they had a second spell that they could cast on anybody on the whole board, whether they were in line of sight or not, like a Skaven trap, bomb, or something, and it inflicted 2 damage, I would also put a 2 there. And you'd see the power raise up to 13. But I don't care about that. I'm gonna leave it at 11. We're gonna go back to my quest 3. And I am going to... I fell back down on the couch. If you're already sitting, go prone. Very good, very good. Crashing on the couch. However, Skaven is coming up to bat. You might notice the pattern in the formula. If you're good, you might even just like be able to suss it out, and that's fine. It's based on monster attacks you, you kill monster, monster attacks you, you kill monster. You got attacked 3 times by 2 monsters. It's assuming that you kill off the weakest ones first and leave the strongest ones to survive the last. That's how we get such high numbers. If your heroes do indeed kill the strongest monsters first, that skews the difficulty a lot. It brings it way, way down. And they probably will. But again, I'm giving you the hardest scenario, the worst case scenario. And you can go through and calculate these differently if you want. You don't have to change the formula. You can say, let's go to quest 1, where I have my goblins, my orc, my skeleton, and my gargoyle. Say, all right, I like what the tool does. What the tool does makes sense. But my heroes, they are definitely going to kill this gargoyle first. I am designing a quest for my heroes, and I know that they're going to kill the gargoyle first. Why do I know that? Because they're smart, and also because one of them has a one-hit kill weapon that will destroy the gargoyle in the first turn. And I know they're going to use that. They're going to use the gargoyle C4. But anyways, fine. That's fine. I have accounted for that possibility. Simply take the gargoyle out of this room leaving the power level that exists without it, and then put the gargoyle by itself in its own. We'll spell it correctly, though. And now your results are going to be different. I don't want to remove the gargoyle completely from the quest, because he is still there. Your heroes could miss. And if they miss every single time, technically that gargoyle belongs back in this skirmish table, because they're all going to hammer you. And no, we're not accounting for doorway combat. We are assuming that every monster is able to hit every hero. But anyways, your gargoyle, if you do get it destroyed, I don't want to make it irrelevant. I want to make sure that this quest does account that there was a gargoyle. It had a dangerous potential. It deserves its own skirmish table. It deserves to be counted towards the total. So anyway, I've made 3 quests. They're all a little silly. One's just got a bunch of Skaven in one room. So it's clear the rats out of the basement. Elven bow of gargoyle vindication. And I have a total quest book difficulty of 10,298, and that's what I can take to my design. That's what I can take to my HeroQuest builder when I'm building up my new quests. That's what I can take back and create. Wait, when did they add C4? Back in Rise of the Dread Moon. I've been using C3. I've been using C3. You've been using the old version? Look, it's fine to stick with the classics, okay? C4 is it's a little more compact. It's less prone to blowing up on you during transport. You're brave if you've been using C3. That's the tool. That's the tool in a nutshell. Shall we go over something a little bit less brain numbing? Because I'm actually starting to get a little bit of a headache. Let's move over to the information tab, and I'll just read to you. So this workbook is for calculating the power levels or difficulties of single or multiple heroes, monsters, animal companions, mercenaries, NPCs, or any entities or traps or groups of any configuration of such, or entire quests, or even a whole campaign. I realize I don't have a trap example at all. For traps, it's easy. You just go to your database and you type in the name of a trap, like pit, and you just go ahead and put in attack dice that it's going to inflict. It may not roll attack dice, but it's going to inflict some damage, right? So if you go ahead and say that your pit is going to inflict a body point, you can do that. You can put 0 defense dice, 0 body points. It didn't calculate. Oh, that's right. It's not repetitive. Technically, the pit probably should be repetitive, but we'll assume you fall into it one time. So put the number in the S column. Put the number in the S column, whatever it's going to be. You got a special deep pit or a lava pit or a poison pit that's going to inflict 4 or up to 4. Put a 4 in the S. And by the way, if you don't want to mess around, if you don't want to mess around, if you don't want to mess around with trying to reach a particular number, you can just put the numbers in the S columns. If you know your monster is going to be a power level of 50 because you say so, just put the number in the S column. Don't worry about the attack dice. Don't worry about the defense dice. The S columns are added. They are additive. So the power level will always reflect the formula of the first 3 columns here, and it will add together the S columns at the end. So if you say my monster is going to have a 50, put the 50 there. Or if you're filling this out and you accidentally clear out a monster like the orc, and you're like, I don't remember I don't have the time. Like I don't care to put the attack dice and all that in. I just remember the orc was a 9. Put a 9. It's fine. Put an orc here. Put a 9 there. And now your orcs will all return 9s when the sheet's looking for their power level. And you're golden. It doesn't care what the attack dice, defense dice, body points, all that is in the skirmish tables. It's only pulling the power. So put your trap. Let's say let's say, I was trying to think of how to say the trap where the walls close in on you. I don't know if that has a classical name. Whatever. Let's just put in some nonsense. Fire trap, spike trap, fire and spike. Fire, it's going to deal 3 damage up to. Spike will deal up to 2 damage. And now let's go into quest 3, where the Skavens are. There's definitely a room with 2 spike traps. Okay, not spile, spike. And this is a little different, right? Because you're not necessarily going to be attacked by 2 spike traps. So I think the best way to approach traps is to put them all individually and different. So fire. Let them be additives to your quest. Some quests are going to have a lot of traps, and you're just not going to have the room with the skirmish tables that I've provided for you to put everything. And also, whoa. I am not used to using Excel with the middle mouse button. I didn't know you could do that. Whoa. Missing a couple things. Links to these tools. I have every expansion to HeroQuest. Which one is your favorite? My favorite expansion is Rise of the Dread Moon for its theme and for what it adds to HeroQuest. That's it. I really, really like Return of the Witch Lord. I really like Return of the Witch Lord. That is a very classic X-Pack. It's very much an homage to the idea that you have your base game dungeon crawler, and then you've got an expansion of undeads, you got an expansion of greens. And I know HeroQuest did it first, but I noticed that this is also a thing in Warhammer Quest. Warhammer Quest has 2 expansions for the 1995 edition. Content expansions. One is Lair of the Orc Lord. That's your greenskin expansion. Orcs of all kinds everywhere. Goblins of all kinds. And then your other one is Catacombs of Terror, which is just undead. And I really like that convention. So for that reason, I like the undead ones. I like crypts and dungeon crawlers. I like crypts more than I like orc places, because I think that that's more dungeony. But I think my favorite for the contemporary and overall, I'm going to go ahead and say, is Rise of the Dread Moon, because I love the assassins. I love the Magus Guards. I like the inclusion of the elf archers and warriors. I like the specters. I like that there's a big boss specter ghost thing. I like the cultists. I like the continuity with other expansion. I like the reputation system. It's bare bones, but it gives you ideas to expand on it. I like the alchemy deck a lot, and the ability to alchemize using reagents. And I like that there are helpers in the form of the cadre of the Raven's Veil. I like the disguise system. I like the safe room. I don't think there's an expansion that adds as much as Rise of the Dread Moon. And I really don't think that there will be another expansion like it. It adds a lot. It adds a ton, and I love the gothic flavor of it. So, moving on. Put your traps in separately. All right, so this workbook does its job by using a special methodology that aims to be more precise and nuanced than any other difficulty rating system that exists as of the time of its publishing. Now, I say that, but then you guys are telling me that you've got your own special. That sounds good. That sounds like better than just adding up all the body points. When I made this disclaimer, I was throwing shade at those systems where they're like, let's add the body points. You're getting almost no information that's useful to you by just adding up the body points. None. I don't even have to explain why that is, I hope. But if you are just adding up body points to get your difficulty, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're going to get wrecked, or you're going to wreck the quest because you're overpowered. But anyways, it consists of a database sheet where you can enter all of your entities. This is pre-filled with some samples to save you time. 14 quest sheets that will allow you to easily and quickly calculate rooms of enemies per quest. This informational sheet and a FAQ. Every quest sheet contains a running total cell for the quest that watches the sums of every skirmish, so you can quickly see how difficult your whole quest will be. In addition, every sheet also contains a running total cell for the sums of quest difficulties, so you can fine-tune the campaign difficulty. The workbook sheets are protected to avoid errors, but the password is in the FAQ. I actually think I took the password away. If I didn't, it's Gargoyle. I'm pretty sure there are no password protected sheets though. 300 monsters and 150 heroes are supported. If you need more, just copy the workbook. There's no consideration made for the movement of an entity. So basically, I don't care how much movement points an enemy has. It doesn't make them more dangerous. Most of them, as soon as you put them on the board, are going to be in range of the hero to move up to them to attack them. Or they will stay where they are, or they will have a ranged attack that they use. But in any case, the fight doesn't happen if they don't move. And if they do move, but they haven't reached your hero, and it's the end of that monster's turn, then the fight hasn't happened. There's nothing to calculate. So if they have a ranged attack, then that's why we're putting that ranged attack in the S1, S2, and S3 columns, because we're saying that they get an attack in on your hero before you finally meet up and you get to slice and dice them. You could have a ranged attack also. That's fine. If you have a consistent ranged attack like the wand for the warlock, you'll use those. You'll put that in your AD, and that's how you'll fight them. It's going to be the exact same process, the exact same calculation. It's just long distance fighting instead of melee. But I don't care. So gnome, I just open with gnome. So if we create two entities, we create a gnome and a wisp. The gnome has 1 attack dice, 1 defense dice, 1 body points, 1 mind points. The wisp has 1 attack dice, 1 defense dice, 1 body points, 1 movement points. They're the exact same. But the gnome has 2 movement, and the wisp has 10. Obviously, we see the wisp has more movement. It's considered to be more powerful, maybe? No, I don't care about this difference, because the wisp cannot attack unless it's adjacent to its target. So in reality, both of them have an equal power level, and so they have an equal difficulty rating in melee. You might say, oh, the database tab is still protected. Password protected. It's Gargoyle. It's like, I'll write that down though. Gargoyle, all lowercase. Now, it should be protected, right? But you should be able to unprotect it without a password. But, I mean, I probably don't have to update it. I can probably just put the password in the FAQ. I might have left it in there. Hold on. If I did, then I will just take no action. Oh, yeah, it's in here. It's in here. Okay, I did that by design, I guess. I don't remember why I did it. I forgot. But evidently, I password protected the first sheet. It's Gargoyle without the quotes, but be careful, as this will allow you to edit or overwrite anything in the sheet, even formulas. You can always re-protect the sheet to lock the relevant columns or re-download the workbook. Okay, so that's fine. That's fine. I had it in the FAQ. I guess I decided to do that after all. I think it was just because I was too lazy to change it. So, final drink of coffee. We've already gone over the how to use. This whole video has been about that. There is a tutorial video for all of this on AshQuest. Just search YouTube for HeroQuest Difficulty Calculator. That's going to take you to this video, hopefully. Mind points generally don't have weight in these battles, so I'm not worried about the mind points aspect of it. I know that there is some nuance in terms of if you have a monster that has mind points versus one that has none, and you have an ability that will allow you to put one of those monsters to sleep. We're doing worst case scenario. So the idea is you're going to miss your chance to put the one that you can put to sleep, and then they're both just going to rail on you. They're just going to wail. They're going to wail on you. Ignore that first phrasing. All right, so, but if you want to give those monsters additional weight because of their abilities, just put values in the S1, S2, S3 columns. If the mind points of a given entity are going to replace its body points or its attack dice or defense dice, just use that number to replace the respective attribute. You can retrofit things into these columns to make your monster make sense. So, other than that, that's everything. You can use this workbook for whatever you want. I don't care. You want to create stats for your own creations, for personal use, commercial use, whatever. There's no warranty. Okay, no warranty at all. It's free. It's hosted on itch.io. I'll also throw a link to it in the Discord, a direct download. You should never, ever, ever have to pay for this. So if any bad actor out there ever grabs this and tries to put it like on Scribd or something, and Scribed, and they try to charge for it, you don't pay. It's free. And it's considered complete. I probably won't update it, but having said that, I'm wanting to make sure that it's more compatible with spreadsheet programs. So over time, I will come back to this and try to suss out the problems that it has in Calc, and I will try to test it with some other stuff. You guys can help with that too, if you want. But if you do use this a lot and you want to provide any sort of attribution to me at all, you can credit me for some metrics. Doesn't matter though. It's not mandatory. I don't care. Just if you drop me a message and you say, I used this and it was really cool and I thought it was useful, that's enough for me. If even one person does it, that'll pay off that debt. So what are some of the frequently asked questions that nobody will ever ask? What happens if I enter more than one of the same name monster? The sheet will always use the first name entered. It will ignore everything else. So to get around this, don't use duplicate names. Give everybody a unique name. I want to enter my own custom power level for a monster without worrying about how to calculate to get there. It's fine. Just enter the number you want into the S1, S2, or S3 columns. Don't enter values in any of the other cells. I want to enter a monster that can attack more than once every turn. You can do that. Any guesses as to how? Enter all the stats as normal, but for the attack dice, enter the sum of 2 attacks from that monster. So if the monster is going to attack 3 times per turn, I have a typo. That, to my great shame, I actually have a typo. If the monster attacks twice per turn, you put the total of both of their attacks. We're assuming the hero rolls no defense. Look at this. Polar Warbear. Attack dice, 8. 8. That's how you do that. That actually multiplies, like if you have a monster that attacks twice, and it's 4 attack dice the first time and 4 the second time, their power level will double, and that is exactly what's happening behind the scenes. If they have like a attack dice of 4 for the first attack and attack dice of 2 for the second, then you'd put 6. Wrong tab. How do I calculate an ability or spell that affects multiple targets? If it's a one-time use ability or spell, enter the maximum amount of BP it could reduce from all targets in one of the S columns. But if it's something they can do repeatedly, put that in their attack dice instead. You should add a tiny amount of RNG and formulas just to keep people on their toes. Yeah! Just randomize the actual power level. Your 9 dragons they all have different stats. The auto sort and power fields for the heroes in the first tab aren't calculating anything. The auto sort and power fields for the heroes in the first tab aren't calculating anything. Let's go look. Let's go take a look. So this is the database tab. So where? Let's test. Let's test. Bard. Orc. Golly. I need a new keyboard. Yes, I am blaming the keyboard. Orc. Bard. That's working. Bard. That's working. Elf. Dwarf. Seems to be working. 109, 177, 150, 200. 109, 177, 150, 200. Orc. Bard. They seem to be working. Add a hero to the input. All of them have heroes. Which hero? Perhaps a compatibility issue? Are you using Excel? Now I'm curious. Now you got me curious. Because if you are using Excel, nothing is working anywhere. If you are using Excel, I have a problem. Yes. Oh, okay. We have a problem. Why do we have a problem? Interesting. Interesting. Debugging stream. Yay. No, my head hurts too much for that. I can get through the next few minutes. That's about it. But in black, I would suggest, let's see. You had the password protected observation. I wonder if you re-download it and you leave the password protections alone, does it do anything? But I also wonder if you're in Excel, why it would change at all. I don't know how to see what version of Excel this is. It's online, but I am definitely curious. Might have you save it and then send it to me. You could send it to my business email, and I could try to crack it open and see if it works on my end still, or if I need to open it in something special. So I don't want it to break for anybody. Then it's not useful. So if I can learn what your circumstances are, I might be able to help people so that they don't. Not saved. Can reopen. I may need to look at security settings. Oh, maybe. That could be. I forgot. So when I use Excel at work, I have the little warning that pops up that's like enable formulas or macros or something. It's not exactly that I'm not allowed to edit. It tries to turn off the automation. So that could be it. Let me know if that's it, if you can, because I will add a disclaimer that says that you might need to check that sort of thing if it's not working. So, boy, Excel, really. So I got a couple more fact questions I want to go over. What do the colored cells mean? They're just for flavor. It's just to help you visualize everything. You can color them at however you want. You can leave them all black and white if you want. What does the skirmish 1, 2, 3, etc. mean in the quest sheets? No, they mean nothing. They're there for categorization. Use whatever skirmish table you want. Use the one that will fit all of your monsters. I entered Orc as a monster and then Orc as a hero, and my calculations aren't adjusting for the hero. That's because you need to give them separate names. The monsters I want to enter defend on a white shield. Then you put it in the hero table. I currently do not have a table where anything defends on all 3 shields, though. I'm curious. I'm going to sleep. Does that count? Next up, some skirmish tables hold 2 monsters, some hold 5. What's the difference? There's no difference. They're just there for your convenience. And the reason I say your convenience is because the smaller skirmishes take up less space, so I can fit more of them on the page so your eyes can look around and spot where things are. And because when you use, this is the weirdest thing, this is 130% zoom, and it's filling up the entire width of my screen. I do have my taskbar on the left. Yes, I'm on Windows 11. Yes, I'm using third-party software to keep my Windows taskbar on the left because that's where I want it. No stupid OS update is going to take that away from me. But when my taskbar is at the bottom of the screen, this is pretty well all perfectly fit within my screen resolution and everything. So this is kind of what I was trying to do for you guys. Just keep everything together at a glance. One page, one look. Very fast, very clean, convenient. If there's numbers in S1, S2, or S3 already, but you don't know what they mean, it's just me pre-filling the sample data. The numbers that I put in S are how I would calculate that entity's abilities using this sheet. You can use them for guidance, or you can do things differently. I don't think this chart is accurate at all. X number of monsters should definitely not be as powerful as Y number of heroes, etc. So these calculations are built in a very specific way so that none of the stats are made irrelevant, but they are still referential. So the numbers don't matter. At the end of the day, the numbers do nothing. However, your curves will matter. That's a setting already in 11. I think I know what you're talking about, but the setting doesn't allow me to move the taskbar. It stays at the bottom. As I was reading it, you had to change like one of your actual flippin' registry keys to actually move the position of the taskbar. But otherwise, in 11, natively, it was stuck at the bottom. You could change the position of icons on the task. There's a setting on there that's like a line to the left or whatever. And I'm like, oh, good. Left side of my screen, and that's not what it meant. It aligned the icons. Yeah, the entire taskbar. I am weird, and I need to have my taskbar on the left side of my screen with my icons arranged vertically. That's what I need. It screws up a lot of stuff. It screws up... No, not the icons. Thank you for... I was second guessing myself. I'm like, now, wait a minute. I know that I looked this up. But I mean, I've been wrong before. It screws up resolution things. It screws up displays, areas that I have to record when I'm doing screen recording. But it's worth it because I need my icons to be in that row, in that column. Anyways, so if your monster has like 6 spells, then they're all varying different attacks. Spells are treated as additive. So you can just add all of them together. You can even put them all in one S column as a single number. After you add it all together, it's fine. So how are spells that summon other creatures handled? What about missed turns, sleep, paralysis, tempest? What about channel dread? What about courage? Whatever. You know, there's probably a way to create a method for factoring in all those possibilities. But ultimately, just use your judgment. Assume all the attacks will connect. Other than that, there's no law to follow. But that's something I have chosen to disregard. So you may also disregard it if you want to use this the way that I would use it. But if you want to change things a little bit and add some extra numbers in there to account for that, you can do that. Just be consistent. Do it with all the monsters that have that ability. And it'll be fine. You use vertical tabs on your browser? You can do that? What? I'll look into that. That sounds wild. I've never seen vertical tabs in a browser. Never have I ever. All right, so the last fact question that I put in here is I'd like to add more than 300 monsters, please. You're not using 300 different monsters in your campaign. That sounds terrible. I will not allow it. Go and think about what you did. But if you do want to do that, though, just download the workbook multiple times. Or if you're comfortable and you're capable, you can see what the formulas are, and you can just add more rows. It's not going to hurt my feelings at all if you edit the workbook. Just don't try to sell it to somebody else. Don't change it and then be like, this is a better version. How about throw some money my way? This is supposed to be free. So you have room for all this stuff. If you take a look at the formula that's being used, you can definitely drag it down and add more monsters. If you do that, though, your skirmish tables aren't going to look for those cells. So you'll have to go and change every single cell in the skirmish table. Every single skirmish table, rather. So if you don't want to go through all that headache, then don't do that thing. But that's all I have for this presentation. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this ramble and this explanation and all this stuff that I have been able to finally present to you today, because it was a lot of fun making this, and it was really rewarding putting in the extra features once I figured out some common sense stuff to put more stuff in, like the total quest book difficulty being on every page. And I went through a few versions of how many skirmish tables there were, and I'm like, that's only 10 or that's only 12. I could do better than that. So I changed that up several times until I had what I thought would be, on average, more skirmish tables than you would possibly want to use. And that's the goal. Over-engineer it so that you don't need constant updates and replacements and all of that. So that's what I've got. Let's take out those. We've got some stuff to fix. I think I just have one thing. I just have the Abomination BP to fix, and that's it. So I'll make sure that there's nothing. Oh, I gotta take these out too. But I can do this off camera. So let's make sure that everything is nice and clean, and nothing is being noisy in here. And by the way, one more thing I want to talk about real quick. So I didn't put anything in for the wizard or the elf. Like, the way that you use this sheet, you would absolutely take the attack spells and add the maximum amount of damage to the S columns. But I don't know how you're going to build your wizard and your dwarf, so I left them blank, because there's all kinds of stuff that you might do for your wizard and your dwarf. You might give the wizard genie, so you'll put your 5 for your 5 attack dice in the S1 column, but you might give that to the elf. I don't know. So I didn't touch that. You get to do that. Does it work for First Light as well? I picked up a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely. It works for all of it. By default, it'll work for First Light perfectly, because it already has all of the base game monsters, which Abomination's wrong, but other than that. Oh God. That's very shameful. I missed it. And it's got dragon. So you'll have to add in any monsters that are special stats. You'll have to add in any versions of Quindrak that are not fully formed. You'll have to add in, if you're playing Crypt of Perpetual Darkness and you're not using the errata, you'll have to add in the Broken Venom. You'll have to add in the special versions of monsters from Prophecy of Talor and Spirit Queen's Torment. You'll have to add in Ulog and Krak and Baelor and Sir Ragnar's prisoner self in the Heroes tab, and all of them. The Jack Frost monster from the special quest. But you just add them into the database, and then it's fine. Then you're able to calculate whatever you want. But my body is reminding me harshly that I need to go eat. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go eat. I'm going to hydrate myself and possibly lay down is what I'll do. I have a bit to do left, but this tool is available now. So as long as you correct the abominations BP in the tool that is available to download, you're good to go. Definitely let me know if there are any issues. You can put that stuff in the comments below. You can tell me what spreadsheet platform you use and if this is compatible or not with that, or if there are specific things that are not compatible, and I can look into it. If you know how to fix it and you add that information to the comments, I greatly appreciate you, and I will fix it and I will update the itch.io file. Quickly, what was the password again? It's gargoyle, but if you ever forget, it's in the FAQ. It's right here. What's the password to unprotect the first sheet? It's gargoyle without the quotes. And that's about it. So it's all self-contained, over-engineered, and I hope it's really helpful for some of you guys out there who are designing quests. If you have this in one tab and you have HQuest Builder in another, you could really get some awesome information for your prototypes, and you could prototype so fast. And if you don't want to use a calculator like this at all, but you really want to kind of conform to an existing campaign difficulty, that's fine. You don't even have to have a spreadsheet to do that. You would take your quest book that you want to have the same difficulty as of, and you'll just look in the quest book and you'll look at the rooms and you'll say there's a room that has 3 orcs in it. And this quest also has a room, 2 other rooms with 3 orcs. And let's pretend for simplicity that that's the entire quest. You now make a quest with 3 rooms that have 3 orcs in it. And you consider, do the heroes have to fight all of these orcs? Do they have to fight every single room, or is one of these rooms optional? Or are 2 of the rooms optional? And you arrange them the same way in your quest, and you will have effectively emulated the exact same difficulty as that quest. If there's traps, make sure you use the same traps. If there are monsters in the corridors, make sure you use the same monsters. Make sure you consider the fact that the heroes will have to fight them, or if it's optional, and make that the same for your quest. If you are... Consider posting a devlog. I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. Go away. If you are unable to see more than 1 monster in a corridor, that's its own skirmish. Treat that as separate. But that's it, folks. Thank you for your kind attention, and I hope that you have a lot of fun with this, even if all you do is enter in like every single square with every monster in the game, which is your right and privilege as every HeroQuest owner. And I am going to revert back to my outro screen. So have a fantastic rest of your day, everybody, and bye for now. Make sure you comment, like the stream. Been getting a lot of subs lately on the last few videos. A lot came in. I don't know where they came from, but I'm very appreciative of that. So if you're new here, welcome. I really appreciate your kind attention. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye.